The first step of the microblading procedure is the client consultation. This can be broken into 3 parts: the microblading consent form, the interview, and the profile. After reviewing the paperwork with the client and confirming that they have no contraindications, ask them what their brow goals are. What do they expect from this service? Do they normally wear makeup on their brows? And if so, how often? Do they groom their brows regularly? What is the commitment to their brows? It's helpful if the client comes to the appointment with their eyebrow makeup on. If the client didn't come with their eyebrows done, then ask them to see a picture of their brows when they are wearing makeup on them. This will help gauge what service will be best for their preferences. Lastly, profile the client's eyebrows, the asymmetry, what's their skin type, normal, dry, oily, sensitive, and what is their Fitzpatrick scale. Notify them of your findings. Then you will want to clean the brows with an alcohol wipe, removing any makeup or oil from the face. Then pat them dry with a cotton round. Using the caliper, find points A, B, and C. This will be the length of your brow. Always make sure to check your work. Measure the distance between points A, B, and C to ensure that they are the same on both the left and right eyebrow. Symmetry is imperative. Use the brow mapping string to find points 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then connect all of these points using your brow mapping string. Use an alcohol wipe and clean all unnecessary lines made by the brow pencil or the brow mapping string. Now, fill in the brows with the brow mapping pencil using the guidelines made with the brow mapping string. Make sure to soften the arch and lower arch. You can do this with the client sitting up, or if you prefer, you can lay the client down on the service table and have them laying down while filling in the brows. Whatever's easiest for you. As long as when you're done, you sit them up so you can look at the final result together. Once you're finished, clean the brow mapping lines with an alcohol pad and a precise Q-tip. You want to make sure the edges are perfectly smooth and not too thick or too thin, because this will be your guideline for the microblading procedure, so you want to ensure that it's super crisp and clean. Once you've finished, show your client the brow mapping and make sure they approve the shape. You can clean up the brows with either tweezers or a brow trimmer to remove any unwanted hair. If you're using a brow trimmer, make sure to hold the skin taut and put the blade flush against their skin. Next, you'll color match. This is when you choose the pigment that's appropriate for the client's skin tone and hair color. You can always put a sample of the pigment color next to the eyebrows to see which one flatters the skin tone and matches the hair color the best. Make sure the client approves the color. Then apply a decent layer of the numbing cream. Cover with saran wrap so it absorbs better. Leave on for 25 to 30 minutes. Remove the numbing cream. Use the back of a micro brush and very lightly and gently swipe off the numbing cream. Then use a mascara wand to brush the hair against the grain. Then use a tissue to blot the remainder numbing cream off the brows. You want to make sure all of that cream is off the brows before you start microblading. Now begin your microblading procedure. If you're right-handed, start with the right eyebrow, working behind. If you're hitting the skin at a 90-degree angle, you'll hear this. A Velcro sound. If you don't hear the Velcro sound, you're not hitting the skin at 90 degrees. Also, check your 3-point stretch. You want to make sure you're holding the skin taut in the direction that you're moving your blade. Hold taut, move slowly and precisely, plan where you start your stroke and where your stroke is going to finish. Even pressure the whole entire stroke. Complete the frame of your eyebrow first, which would be the red, orange, and yellow strokes. Make sure that you are holding the skin taut with a 3-point stretch. Hold in the direction that you are microblading. Once you have finished the outline or the frame, you can wipe the pigment away. Just make sure not to mess up the brow mapping underneath the tail. You still will need that in order to fill in your tail strokes. Fill in the tail using the staircase technique. Make sure that all of the strokes in the staircases are pointing in the same direction. Make sure that the yellow strokes are pointing towards the spine. Even though the spine is imaginary, it's what separates the direction of hair growth. But it also acts as a guide as where to point your strokes. So the yellow strokes are a little more curved than the tail strokes, and they're pointing up and over in the direction towards the spine. You want to microblade in the correct depth. This is what we call the sweet spot. The sweet spot is when you see a slight channel in the skin, usually marked by pinpoint bleeding. After you've completed all of your strokes on the right brow, apply a pigment mask. Holding the skin taut, apply a generous amount of the pigment into the strokes. Then cover with saran wrap and go to the next brow. Now switch sides and microblade the opposite brow. For me, I'm working on the left eyebrow. If you notice my body position, I'm working to the left of the client across the chest. So in this case, I'm pushing my strokes. You can also work from behind the client and pull your strokes towards you. Whatever's most comfortable for you. Try both. When you're holding the skin taut, be aware of your brow mapping. You want to make sure not to mess up these lines, as they will be your guide to where you put your frame strokes, the red, orange, and yellow. The slower you work, the easier it will be to curve your stroke. Remember to apply the thumb roll technique. The curve in the stroke should come from the twist in the fingers, not a movement in the hand or wrist. Make sure the spacing between all of your strokes are the same, from beginning to end. The strokes should match in size and color to the natural hair, as well as the natural hair growth. Dip your tool into the pigment cup each time before you make a stroke, using the correct amount of pigment. You don't want to use too much pigment on the tool, otherwise you won't be able to see your stroke. Hold the skin taut on the flattest part of the bone. This will make it easier to make a clean, precise, crisp stroke. Make sure you are holding the skin taut in the direction that you are moving your microblade. Once you're done with the left brow, apply a pigment mask and cover with saran wrap. Then remove the pigment from the right eyebrow. Now apply the secondary numbing cream to the right eyebrow for 1 to 3 minutes. Then wipe away. In the second pass, you'll go over all the strokes on each brow. You don't need to put pigment on your blade. It makes it easier to see when you're hitting the exact same stroke. Mask both brows for 10 minutes. Make sure to cover with saran wrap. Using a gentle cleanser, such as green soap, remove the pigment and clean the brows thoroughly. Then you will apply the secondary numbing cream, which has epinephrine in it, which helps to absorb the blood and lymph. You can also use a cleanser that has a numbing agent within the cleanser, such as the one I'm using right now. Review the aftercare with the client and set up their follow-up appointment.